So again, just to review the final project, we're going to do that first. And then I'm going to get into what AI governance is. I'm not getting into many details, but enough that you, as business leaders, will be dangerous and able to join a, say, board of directors and understand the kind of AI governance you need to have. Your own company as a solo entrepreneur, part of a large organization. You need to understand how you'll be able to embrace AI properly with the governance securely ongoing. And I'll have a guest speaker who will talk to us about that as well. So let's boldly go where no one has gone before. This is our guest speaker. I'll be putting the slide up again at the end, and then I'll be cutting over to the interview I've already completed with him. And Rob McPhee, we met years ago. And anyways, you'll hear all about that when we talk about when we have our little interview. So looking forward to that. Again, it's at the end of this video for you. So the elements of your final project, I reviewed this last week as well as in the video. So the problem, so when you're submitting it on the Blackboard, all I want you to do is indicate what problem are you solving? Why are you even doing this AI solution? What problem are you solving for your business or yourself? And then what inputs are you using to it? And then what are your final benefits? What are your final benefits? Are you saving time? Is it something you can do more often? Is it more engaging than what you could do before? Is it more exciting for whoever the target audience is? And then upload your final solution. Some of you have completed it already and they're fabulous. I'm really excited. Kelly's is, I'll be sharing that with you when we meet. It's a fabulous final project. I shared with you on when we first met our butterfly, and that was beautiful. What she did with that with Hey Jen. So I'm excited to share with you the ones that I get permission to share, but you'll have access to all of them because they're uploaded to the discussion board. Carmelina's is the butterfly, and hers was just very whimsical, but very, very warm and inviting. And I that did the job by using HeyGen and an avatar that you'd have to just see to believe it's beautiful. Okay, so that is that. And then what are we talking about today? Uh, in our final lecture, governance and policy. What's the difference between governance and policy? I'll share that with you. The framework, it's a simple high level framework of AI governance, and really it applies to any type of governance that you'll be looking at. So if it's something you're not familiar with, you'll then know what it is later on. If it's something you are familiar with, it'll feel very comfortable. AI security, best practices, AI policy template I've also uploaded for you, and I'll share with you a template that I have created for my clients who are creating AI policies. Before they actually create the policy, I have them go through a little workbook. So I'll share the workbook with you as well. And the workbook helps you understand how to create your policy. Woohoo! Okay. And then your AI. That's what those two are. I should probably flip them. And then our guest speaker, and he's going to talk about what future or current business leaders need to know about AI in the area of governance and security. Okay, so AI usage policy template is really what I've been brought in to help businesses create often. And my knowledge comes from that. So I'm quite excited to be able to share that knowledge with you. And I have implemented this now in a few different companies. So it's kind of exciting and much more embraceable than I expected. So AI security policy, it's crucial because it breaks the way I help you do it and the way I'm sharing with it for you here is just shares, it builds a trust and an honesty between you and your employees to you and to your clients. It helps you build that trust in the public eye. And used properly, you're not then at risk to lose your reputation, lose your clients. So this is what it's all about. So governance is how you make decisions. What is our governing body? So it could be what's the legislation? And then how do you make decisions? Who's accountable for things within your organization? So if your organization is a solo entrepreneur, I go to an Ontario legislation to check things out, or I go to an expert. So these are things you just need to identify, even as a solo entrepreneur, or if you're in a larger company, you need to identify someone, it's their role to understand these things, and that's where people go to understand and who's the governance and then we're going to take you through governance for this. Then policy, It's creating the AI policy. It's almost like a little handbook. It's a user policy. What are we allowed to use? What aren't we allowed to use? So by the time it gets to policy, the governance has already happened. It feeds the policy. So you need both to build trust. Okay. So what is AI governance? Just a simple definition. If you want to jump down to the checklist here, it's really who approves the AI tools? Who approves the AI tools? And then it goes into the policy once they're approved. Who evaluates the risk? Who's going to say, okay, you know what? We can't put passwords into ChatGPT. They have to be only in this area. We can't put our financials here. They have to be there. So who takes that step back to begin with and assess the risk of everything that you ever write down or type up? Who and all of your files. So in best cases, if you are going to pass an audit for your data security, you need to make sure every type of data is labeled. So is this data a risk? Is it sensitive or is it not? So who does that? And where is AI allowed? Where are you allowed to use it? How are you allowed to use it? How are you checking for accuracy and bias? As we know, as we discussed earlier, the way something is created, it's through the lens of this person who creates it. They know what they don't, they know what they know, they don't know what they don't know. So, how are you going to check for biases? We talked about that a little bit last week as far as the training goes. Ask AI to give you both sides of the argument. I love that approach. So as create a prompt that says, okay, this is what you've created for me. Now, what is there another side of this that I'm not seeing? Take you become the expert of the other side for me so I can look at both sides. So then you're sure you're not putting in biases. Anyways, so how do you check for biases? It's all around that aspect is all around training, making sure you have your sources, making sure you understand your biases. Who's accountable if something goes wrong? Who are you going to call? So in that case, you just need to write that down. Who are you going to call? Do you have a line to an expert? Do you have a link that you can check on? Do you have someone like myself that you would refer something to? Who are you going to call? If it's more on the security side, perhaps it's someone like Rob that you would get involved. And then how often are we going to review this? Because it's AI and it's changing so quickly, if you're part of something that's larger that has many different risks, you may want to just kind of touch base and look at your policy monthly, quarterly. Often you don't look at these things, just annually you'll have a review, but with something that's changing so quick, I would suggest we do it a little more often. So a simple definition, that's what we have as our AI governance. I hope that makes sense. Just kind of answer those questions with the check marks, and then that tells you what should be in the framework. So here it's often in a small company who's included the leadership and owner of the company in creating the framework. So who decides what tools are approved? Why is that important? Because the tools cost money. If you are going to, in a 20-person company, now all of a sudden approve Copilot in everybody's Microsoft world, you are now paying for $40 for everybody monthly. So that adds up. So you can't just make that decision. It needs to have a governance. Someone is going to decide that. And then you may decide, okay, I only want financials done within Excel, within the Copilot, and no one else really needs that ability. So it's just going to be my accounting team that's going to have that access. So this is how those things are decided. And then if someone decides in a certain office that they need AI access as well, they have to know who's making those decisions and go to them with a business case to say, I need to do this. And in their business case, they're going to have to say, I'm going to save this much time, this much money a month. It has to outweigh the cost of the AI access because everything costs money to access. So risk assessment. What data is safe? What's not safe? Who's going to do that? That goes part of the framework policy. So once this is decided, who needs to create the policy? And then how do we train our employees that this actually impacts to use this new technology? And then oversights and review. Again, are you doing this monthly or quarterly? Are there new risks that come up? Accountability, as I said, who you escalate to. And tools change weekly in some cases. So you need to be on top of the tools, especially now with AI as it's changing so quickly. So that's what happens. And I think this is pretty much a repeat of what I just said there. The roles in a small company, AI owner, person who approves or disapproves the AI tools, AI champion. These are terms people are using. Who trains the team? Often that's me, brought in to train a team. Could be yourselves now with your AI designation. AI policy lead. Who ensures the policy is followed, and what happens if it's not? Often it is disciplinary if you're going to break those rules. Security contact, the escalation point, and so forth. So those are things that are part of an organization that's looking through their AI governance. So risks of all data. So that's something you kind of, on a best case, you're going to take a step back and say, AI data privacy, AI tools learn from what you are asking them. So if you are giving your intellectual property up to ChatGPT, for example, how safe is that? All of a sudden, it's learning from your intellectual property, and is it sharing that with others? So this is why we say if it's sensitive data, data that's going to give your competitors an advantage, data that's going to make you lose credibility, do not put it in ChatGPT. Also, misinformation. AI knows so very much, right? It knows everything. So if it misinterprets what you're saying, it's going to then confidently use that as an answer, and it could be misleading. So you need to always be aware of that you still need human intervention. That's got to be written in your policies. And then the sensitive data, when it's exposed to the public, people are going to doubt your company's ability to do business seriously. And then there's the legislation, the Ontario.ca Responsible Use Artificial Intelligence Directive. So that is one that I check out when I am about to go help somebody with their policies. I check that out and I bring that knowledge with me. Okay, so in the policy, after you've done your governance, it's okay. So you're listing the tools that are approved, Microsoft Copilot or ChatGPT, and then you're also going to list how you're using them. So in ChatGPT, perhaps you're just asking it to create social media posts because you're going to be using it out on the public anyhow. Asking it to help you create blogs because you're going to be putting that out into the public anyhow, asking it to help you create different things that you're going to be putting into the public anyways. Other things that you're going to be doing in a private area, perhaps you're doing it in your private Canva, your private Microsoft or Google world. So where else are you doing things that are private, and how are you using your sensitive data? So, what is sensitive data? Use of customer names or financials and passwords. Obviously, sensitive data that's sensitive. So, you want to make sure people understand that in the training before they put it onto a new tool. I've heard too many people that are cavalier on how they're using these tools, and it's not safe yet. We just do not know. And one of the things that you'll hear from our guest speaker is how AI tools jump from one tool to another now, in how they are learning. So you may have something that you've put into your upgraded chat GPT, but it's now jumping with that information elsewhere, and all of a sudden it's shared elsewhere and you didn't even realize it. And that's something that they do not understand yet with AI. So be afraid, be very afraid, or be wise and use it properly. I would suggest you do that. So, what counts as a sensitive data in manufacturing? I did a manufacturing series recently, and it was their intellectual property was one of the ones that they agreed they do not want to put out onto ChatGPT. Customer specs, because each one is unique. Those are things that they would not put out there. Their supplier contacts. It's taken a long time for them to create their supplier relationships. So that was interesting when you look at what was obviously financial information and passwords, but these are other things that they would never ever put onto ChatGPT. So that's very insightful. So, in case of risk, case studies of misuse, leaking proprietary designs, as I said, via AI prompts. So, the prompt we said needs to be very thorough. So, if you're going to put all that information into your prompt, you're leaking it. So, you got to be very careful with that. And then let's see. Sorry about that. sorry, something's in the way there. Template for, you also need to, if you are in a larger company and something has gone sideways, people need to know who they're going to talk to internally or externally. So in your policy, if it's a larger company, you always have an incident report plan. Where will they go? What's the escalation plan? So here's your checklist when you are doing in an AI use risk assessment checklist. And the next slide I like as well. It's kind of like a chart. I love charts, as you all know. So it's like, is it low risk? Is it internal content? Is it high risk? So let me just move this again. So is the task low? If the task is low, it's a yes. So the task is a low risk. Are you using an approved tool? Yes, I'm using the approved tool. Have you confirmed there's no sensitive data included in whatever documents you're sharing to AI? The answer is yes. Will a human review it before it goes public, whatever AI is created for you? The answer has to be yes, whether it's internal or externally sharing. Is the content free of third party copyright information? Things haven't changed just because it's sharing with you. Here is, what so and so said. You need to indicate still that it is said by so and so. You still need to use copyright 101 rules, right? So if the answer is no to any of the above, then you need to take pause and take a step back and say, okay, something, this is risky. I can't do this. How do I turn it into a yes? So here is some of the little chart that we pulled together. I pulled together for you. Type of data, customer name, and email, high sensitivity. No, don't put it out on the public chat GPT, for example. Financial records. No, of course, that's high. Don't put it out. Product specs. If it's already released and it's widely available on the web, sure. If it's not released, I would not put it out there because that's your intellectual property. That's what you have as value add. It's your cutting edge, it's your leading edge. So you don't I would no, don't do it. It says with caution. That is what I pulled right from the legislation, actually, is where I got this from, in case you wanted to know. Supplier contact information, again, it depends how private and how much it's part of your soul. So it could be medium as far as the actual sensitivity. Public press release, of course, that's low because you're going to put it into the public. Marketing copy, of course, that's low because you're going to put that into the public. Okay, so that's kind of how you do that. And this is another safe versus risky little chart. Prompting for email draft. It's safe when you're just sending out a thank you message. It's risky when you're actually giving them a confidential price or proposal that's unique for one type of company. Summarizing documents, is it a public document that you're summarizing it? Or is it anything that you can identify a human? Anything that is a human identifiable is considered private and risky. You're not allowed to share anything on in the public domain as a company that shares private information about a human. You can't share their review, you can't share their salary. All those things are private if it's private. So yes, you cannot put that out on ChatGPT, for example. Marketing content, creating a new social media post that you're going to put public, that's okay. But use this copyright ad to make a post, not okay. So you kind of get the feel for that. So just some general questions that when I was creating this PowerPoint AI said, oh, you should ask these questions right now. Okay. So is it okay to put customers' names into Chat GPT? What do you think? No. Okay. So question number 2, can you use AI to draft a blog post about your company's history that it's grabbing from the internet? Answer, yes, of course, because it's already out there. Number 3, who do you contact if you want to try a new AI tool? Well, that's where you may want to contact someone like myself, someone like Rob. You may want to contact, do your own research, but I wouldn't just start using it unless you've done that due diligence, okay? And of course, if you're at a larger company, you want to contact the person that's accountable. So AI security threats, every business must know about. Prompt injections. So hackers manipulate prompts to extract sensitive data. So be careful with that. Watch your prompts and make sure that your prompt is really what you wanted that prompt to be. AI creates perfect emails that look like you are expecting an email because you have done business or somebody. So be careful. Those are becoming more and more dangerous because they look more and more authentic because AI is getting really good at copying someone's identity. So be very careful with that. Leakage data, sensitive data passed on to your browser tools. Be careful because that is stored externally. Anything you ask AI in the browser version, the ones you go to directly, all stored in the cloud. So you want to be very careful with that because we all know hackers are smarter and more dangerous. And even though it might be secure, be very careful. Model poisoning. Attackers influence AI generated output. So they will train it to give us incorrect information over time. So be careful. Shadow AI, staff silently using unapproved tools. These are these are things that Rob will be able to expand on as well. So again, be careful. I know I go into many places and they all say we can only use, Copilot embedded. The next thing I know, their whole staff is using ChatGPT for financials. So that is obviously a threat. So best practices, I've already talked about this as just kind of a summary now. You need to use AI when it's sensitive, embedded in your tools that are safe, that are in your ecosystem, like Copilot within Microsoft or like Gemini within Gmail. That is the most secure. Train staff on what not to paste, what not to cut and paste into the public AI. Turn off the chat history in your AI browser. So that's one that you can do as well. Although it's still safe for 72 hours in the cloud, so you know. Even though it's not public and you won't have access to it again, it's still up there for 72 hours. So you may have turned off your history, you may have called it a private chat, but it's still there. And then add when you are going into any of your tools and you have to put in your email and password. And then it also wants to know, sometimes it sends you a text message as well. So if something is sensitive, make sure you put a multi-step authentication into it. That's what MFA is. So it's multi-steps. So that's where for me to get into my Trent system, and I imagine yours is the same way. When I go into log into Trent, it also puts an authentication on my phone that I have to get that code to match. So that's a two-step, so people can't break into it. Encrypted files before you upload them, depending on the file. Conduct your quarterly review. I suggest it might be a little more often in AI if you have high risk data. And bookmark cyber secure Canada guidelines. And I have those links coming up in a different slide. So for smaller teams, I've said this before. I'm not going to repeat it. All I'm doing here is this first slide. I'm expanding it a little bit more here. Okay, and then data privacy. I talked about this as well. I'm one of the things I did miss before is transparency. Make sure that if you are using AI to state you're using AI to, I always start my digital twin. Hi, this is Sophie's digital twin. I never just pretend it's me. So you want to be transparent in how you're using AI. And so, in closing, before I introduce our guest speaker, we have AI staff training is important. Um, and what's important is to review the policy. Everyone should review it. If you're at a larger company, when you get hired, you sign the policies, you sign employee policy agreements. This should be part of it. The people need to understand it, have the training, and then sign off on the AI usage policy. Where does it live? AI lives in um, cybersecurity. So whoever is accountable for your cybersecurity, if you're a larger company, they should also be accountable for your AI security. So in that case, they need to expand their security policies to include AI. So review the AI security policy workbook. Oh, I'll show that to you before I go over to our guest speaker. And be familiar with the AI governance legislations. This first one is the most important one, I think, for you to look at. And then there are many more that are available that you can look at depending on the type of information you want. Cyber7.ca, that is who our guest speaker works. He's the founder there. So let me just go to our two other files that I have here for you. Uh, so this is the this here is the AI usage policy. Just going to put it here so I don't have to change my screen there. Oh, no, okay. Here, I'll just put it here then. Okay, so this is the AI usage policy. So this one is the AI security and policy workbook. So this is what you would do first, and it feeds the AI usage policy, as I said before. So build trust. This is why you're doing this. So you've got to think about what is the risk. Write down the risks. I usually say there might be four major risks, but what are the risks and some of the data that you work with for the AI risks? Now, with your knowledge, what would you say the risks are for your four major categories of data? You probably have financial data, you have client data. So, what are the different types of data you have? What are the risks? And then think about list your AI tools. Which tools do you want to have access to? And there are other ones, but these are some of the major ones, right? And then what we're talking about is accepted use. How are people going to use AI in your organization? Drafting emails, summarizing public documents, generating social media posts. We know what all of the different aspects of using AI are now. So, which ones are acceptable? Maybe I should have a little box there so people can check mark them. Okay. And then set boundaries. They call them guardrails. What's a unique rule that you would include in your usage policy? So, I would suggest it's not putting anything that was a high risk above on ChatGPT or anything that's a browser based, and then use this checklist to draft your own AI usage policy. Have you defined the purpose? Why are you using AI? What are all those purposes above? Listed the tools. How are you using it? Outline the acceptable and unacceptable use. Address the privacy and handling. Clear accountability for escalation. Do you know the links to the Canadian or Ontario legislation, or do you have someone in your company who's accountable and they know that? Include intellectual and copyright guidelines. Assign a policy owner for the AI, and training and onboarding steps. So there you go. And so then all we wanted you to do at the end is who in your business, externally or externally, creates the policy, who in your business should be named the AI policy escalation point. So that's pretty straightforward, I think. And I know I've used it a few times and it's been very useful. And then here's the AI usage policy. And so for our AI usage policy template, all we're talking about the policy outline, how employees, contractors, partners may use AI within whatever the company name is. And the goal is to ensure safe, ethical, productive use of AI while protecting company data, intellectual property, and customer trust. That's why we're doing it. So the scope apply to all staff and contractors, and basically what tools are you using. So this is where you would list the actual tools. These may not be the ones you use, but this is where you would list the tools that you would be using. Accepted guidelines. So what's acceptable? How are you actually using it? What's not acceptable? What you shouldn't use. So I've got some guidelines here. And then data handling and privacy. Do not put input. So these are just our personal identification information. We know not to include that. We can't have that spread out. So these are some data handling and privacy, intellectual privacy, oversight, who's reviewing this quarterly, for example. So then you would update it with the date, acknowledge all employees must sign the policy and compliance in a brief training module before using AI tools. And this is why on their annual review or quarterly review, they should review it again and sign off. And so then there's your little checklist. Do you have an approved list? Do you know what data is sensitive? Are your is all your staff trained on the acceptable use? Is there a review process in place? Are you tracking updated AI tools and risks? And there you got it. Okay, so feel free to use that. I know it's something that is useful. I have shared it with others and it's a good policy. So now over to our guest speaker, and then I will be coming back. And just 1 second, let me just go over to our guest speaker here. Open this up. There we go. And current slide. So I'll be introducing now Rob McPhee with a deep understanding of organizational, business, and technology needs. Rob has worked with federal, First Nations, provincial, municipal, and private sector stakeholders on a wide variety of technical initiatives. Rob has earned and holds the following credentials: an honors in commerce degree from Lakehead University, bachelor's of admin degree from Lakehead, and the ITIL Foundation certificate, and the one that is most interesting to us is the Certified Information Systems Security Professional credential, which is what our Rob is. And without further ado, let's go into our interview. So, welcome everybody. I want to introduce you to Rob McPhee. How long have we known each other? Do you think it was 15 years ago, Rob?
I think it was. I remember you at the time were out doing the tour, and you ended up doing a presentation in Muskoka, and I was at one of your
Yes.
presentations, and I followed you on social media, and I love your content.
Well, thank you. Well, Rob is being very kind, and what he means by my tour, I have my VW bus, and I'd go around and I would do my digital marketing workshops back then, live and in person. Too cool, right? So yeah, so Rob is a certified information systems security professional, CISSP credential. So he is a cybersecurity expert in my mind. When I think of Rob, I think of cybersecurity. And when we were talking the other day, I said to him, that's my biggest weakness. People always ask me, what kind of governance do you need around AI? And what kind of security does it have? What kind of policies? So this course, this lecture, this last lecture, of course, is on those topics. And I thought and as I shared with you, it is my weakness. It's not something I have gone out and actually been a professional, being brought into a company and done these things before. So if I haven't done something, if I haven't lived through it, I don't feel like I'm qualified by just reading and sharing. So Rob is qualified. He gets brought into companies to do just that. And so as well as many, many other things. But so today I asked him for 10 minutes of his time and he said yes. And I'm going to hand it over to Rob and ask him, like, who is he, if he doesn't mind a little bit, and why is cybersecurity? Why is it important, especially with AI? Thanks, Rob.
Yeah, well, thank you very much, Sophie, for that great introduction, the segue into technology governance and AI governance. So, yes, I've had a great opportunity to work. Sophie, you had mentioned the certified Internet systems security professional, and there's different types of cybersecurity people. There's different types of skills out there. And where my skill set comes in is looking at what does an organization or a business or an entity need to be doing to make sure that they're looking after their cybersecurity and their AI in a way that's responsible, that protects their interests, and hopefully avoids any missteps that are out there. So that's the perspective that I come at it with. Of course, there's very technical people as well. They get right down into looking at the packets moving across networks and looking for malformed, bits of information that can be threats. And those people are important too. But the little chat today is really around what's good practice for leaders of organizations to make sure that we're doing the right things. So I'll just start off a little bit with why cybersecurity and AI governance is important. So, we remember the old days where we had our passwords and we wrote them on the sticky notes and put them under our keyboards. Well, the world is very different now. So cybersecurity, as technology has grown, as AI has grown, we have much more vested in the digital world than we used to have. Right down to, we have the IoT where we have appliances in our house uh, that are connected, thermostats. We have things in our car, and we have all our business processes, right? We have our networks, we have our databases, all those things. And the world has got more technically integrated. And with that, we have much more skin in the game in the digital world. So it behooves us to be able to make sure that we're using it well, not only for the advantage perspective, the competitiveness that it can bring, but also to make sure we use it safely and wisely. So,
I appreciate that. So,
yeah.
in that vein, where did you want to take us through today? I know that you and I talked about a number of things. So, where have you landed? What would you like to share with us? What do you think? And I like how you frame that. What does a business leader need to know about AI governance? So,
Yeah.
and Rob obviously knows what we've done so far in the class, and that today is like wrapping it up with, okay, now you know all these other things on how to use it in marketing, business development, your prompt engineering, and so process mapping and process improvements. So what do you need to know now overall, taking that, pushing yourself back up to the leader you are?
So I think the thing, and we talked about this a little bit, is what how do we approach this as a business? People understand like they never have before. We read it in the news every day about cybersecurity challenges, AI developments. Well, how do we get a handle on that? Everyone knows it's important, but what's our roadmap as decision makers? How can we implement, take it from a concept into practical application and bring it into our organizations and embed it into our culture, into our processes, into our policies, all those things. So I think where I would start with that whole conversation is with any organization, whether you're a sole proprietor and you're the only person in the organization, or whether you're a Fortune 500 company, what's at risk? You need to understand what your risks are. And when I say that, some of the key things that any organization of any size looks at is, well, what are my business outcomes? That's an important thing. What's my organizational reputation? What are my legal risks? Am I going to
Interesting. Hmm.
affect my clients? There's what I'm doing, but maybe I might do something that is going to be either beneficial or may have a negative consequence on my clients or my employees. So what's at risk across those different areas? So we want to make sure that we've kind of jumped through a few hoops to make sure that we thought about those things and we're acting appropriately.
So mitigating the risks and kind of, I guess, maybe even acting out different scenarios. What happens if this happens? What happens if that happens? Is this a risk? Is that not a risk? Does this put us, at risk of, I think you mentioned to me before, even your organization reputation. Is that, that could be at risk all of a sudden. You lose clients because of something. Go on. Yeah.
Yeah, it could be. So that's why we have to understand what artificial intelligence is going to do for us. And, we want to pull the lever on the good stuff, right? Like, how does it make us more productive and improve processes and, reduce timelines and all those good things. But we also have to be mindful of the things that we want to make sure. I'm hearing a lot of language in the industry about AI on where are the guardrails. So as an organization, what we're looking, for organizations to do is make sure we understand where the guardrails are. One of the things I would really encourage, and when I looked through your outline of your curriculum for this course, you've done a great job, Sophie. Um, Data classification, uh, if you can formalize it within your organization, it depends how big your organization is. It might take a little bit of time. But what we have to understand is what type of information are we dealing with? Is it public information? Is it personal information? Is it health information? Is it intellectual property or trade secrets? So,
Yeah.
depending on what nature of information we have, it will sort of guide and inform us on what our appropriate uses are, what we can use it for, and what we shouldn't use it for as well. So that starts if we start thinking through a classification of what type of information we have, then we can start building those guardrails on how we use artificial intelligence. The other thing, we're always mindful of is we want to work in a responsible environment, and there is legislation that governs different types of information as well. Personally identifiable information. We have a duty as organizations, business owners, business leaders, to protect
Right.
personal information. So
Mhm.
I know you've covered that in the course, but you have to be very mindful of the inputs that you're putting into artificial intelligence. Because, we think at the user level, well, I'm just going to type this in the screen and that's as far as it goes and it gives me something back. But when you type that in the screen, that information is going in to an artificial intelligence engine. And, we're not 100% sure what happens after that input
You mentioned
happens.
something. I don't know
Yeah.
if you wanted me to bring it up now, but I
Yeah.
forget what it was called, but where because AI and the way it goes out and gathers information, it could be jumping from platform to platform, which terrified me when you said that. And I don't get scared easily because I thought, well, I'm in ChatGPT, I'm just in ChatGPT. It's going to train a little bit as long as I don't put any client information and personal information. But I am now with AI agents connecting it to all sorts of different things. So now it could be jumping around without my knowledge because I've asked to go there, in another chat or in another project, and that door is now open because I have connected my two systems. So later on, I'm asking it to do something else, and it now knows how to go get some content I mean, that blew my mind when you said that, honestly. Do you know what I'm getting at the beginning when we first started talking? You were
Yeah.
talking about some of the committees you're on and some of the chatter that you've been hearing. And I thought, oh, no, yes, that makes total sense.
Yeah, well, what we want to be mindful of is with artificial intelligence, we have to understand the nature of the beast. And the nature of the beast is it's a new technology. And, we say it's artificial, but it is to some degree intelligent. And what does that mean? Well, in some cases, artificial intelligence can make its own decisions. We're delegating a certain level of autonomous thinking that's going to jump over from the human into the artificial intelligence. And it may do some things that we haven't thought of. I've dealt with a lot of people in my life, and as we all do, occasionally you go, I didn't anticipate that person was going to do that. Well, we may have some circumstances with artificial intelligence where the same thing happens.
Wow.
Um, so what we want to make sure is to, again, build our guardrails. So we are just mindful of using it in a responsible way. It is software driven. So, like any software, there's going to be a few bugs that the vendors are always working, to fix.
Mhm.
They're minimizing, all those. The vendors, they have their responsible development as well. But there's a portion of this that we're going to just have to be mindful and see where it goes. So when the nature of technology is all these things integrate and they don't all work in their own little protected bubble. So we have to watch and make sure that we keep it within the guardrails, if that helps. Yeah.
Mhm. So I think I'm not sure what else you wanted to cover because that those are big concepts, and I'm not sure how far to go because I think we may have reached our 10 minutes, but I think the biggest thing is AI fits in cybersecurity. And it's not something right now, at least you're laughing that it might be its own thing in one day, but right now it fits under that bubble because you currently have cybersecurity because I mean we've had processes. I think you called it something about your privacy and how you what you do with your own um, client data. And I remember years ago that we were always said you can't put your client data on your laptop and then take that home. You had to, have in a certain type of organization, you could only access certain data behind your firewall. And because that data needed to stay there, that private data, which was personally where you could identify the person or you had your intellectual property, you couldn't walk around with that in case someone stole it. Same thing with AI. If it's something in my mind that is behind that firewall, that's not something you want to just put out on a browser, chat GPT, and ask it a question because in my mind, you've just put it out there in the public. And that's quite a risk. And so I liked what you talked about, how you've got to, if you can classify your different data, then you know that there are things that, yep, go ahead and ask it certain questions because it's not risky. But these other ones that are risky, it's going to, if it gets out, damage your reputation. It's going to give information to your competitors. It's going to have you lose business. Those things, no, think twice. If you're a small solo entrepreneur, it's good to know these things. If you're working with a larger company, as most of us do, even though we're solo entrepreneurs, you work with large companies and they have these processes in place. So you need to be aware of them and need to behave as such. If you're a large company, as some of you are, then you would want to make sure that you are the leader and you're the strategist when it comes to AI, including the guardrails that Rob talked about. It makes a lot of sense.
I think
Is
you made
there,
a really good point there, Sophie, that when you're using these tools, one of the really easy things that you can do is make sure when you're doing inputs into AI that you anonymize the information.
mhm.
And you just don't want to be putting sensitive information. That's one of the easiest things that you can do. So once you put stuff in, it's hard to get the genie back out of the bottle. So
Well, it's like you said, I think you were talking about you're the one that brought up intellectual property and tracking that. And
yeah,
if you put a lot of times I have told my students that, put all your information into AI and it'll help you do something better. Well, now I'm going to share with them, well, don't put your intellectual property into AI, but this is the process on how we do something. So how can I make it better? Because now you have given all that away to AI and it literally is going to be training on this is how things are done. So that's really uh, you need to use the AI that's embedded in your systems if you're going to be talking about your intellectual property. And that's something I didn't actually think through properly before. You know.
yeah. I don't know if you covered in your content, but there's a difference between the open AI and closed AI as well. So there are closed systems, for organizations to use that are when you feed that input in, it's held within an organization. So it's important to know if you're using a closed AI system or an open AI system.
I've been calling it
Yeah.
embedded in your current systems, but so you call that closed, is it? Okay, so
Yeah.
closed
Well,
AI.
yeah.
No, that's I
So,
don't know what the term is. I think I may have
yeah.
made up that embedded term. I don't know. So the open AI is obviously when it's open, and then the closed AI or embedded is when it's already behind your firewall and it's staying there.
Yeah.
And that's where you use and where you interact with AI in your closed world when it's sensitive information for sure. So, in
Yeah,
closing, Rob, is there
yeah.
anything that you've missed that you wanted to share in this high level environment? I really appreciate your help.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to be here. I think the only thing that I would close with is it's a fascinating world that AI is bringing to us, and we can't ignore it. So it's going to change, and we need to adapt within our organizations. And I really encourage people that the leadership of organizations need to be involved. It can't just be something that's deferred to the IT or the tech people. So
No,
that's
no, you're absolutely right. That's wise.
what I would close off with. Yeah.
Okay, yes, I appreciate that. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you very much.
Okay, it's my
Thank you.
pleasure. Yeah. Thank you
I'm
very
going
much,
to
Sophie.
Okay, so thank you so much. And just to recap, this is our final lecture. We are now at the end of this. Our next time we are together, we will be on December 2nd, and we will be a live optional lecture if you're choosing to join us. And at that time, we'll review anything you want from the entire class. It'll be our last week, so your final assignments due that week. And any questions you have on your final assignment between now and then, please email me. I'll be happy to help you. And have a great week on your own. I'll miss you. And then we'll see you hopefully if you can make it on December 2nd.